Hi, everyone. I'm Stuart Kavanagh, and welcome to the After Extra Time podcast, where we talk about the big news, the big games, and the big names in the English Premier League. As per usual, I'm joined by journalist, Manchester United fan, editor in chief of the sportsbank.net, author of Transatlantic Passage, How the Premier League Redefined Soccer in America, and the birthday boy himself. Happy birthday, Mr. Paul M. Banks. How you doing, mate?
Very proud to be 27 years old now.
That could be your best joke of the whole show ever.
Quite possibly, yeah. I've always hated having a birthday in February because I consider January and February to be like the same month, and basically they're December except without Christmas cheer. And I don't know, February has a lot of sports all-star games in it, I guess, but my birthday being at the end of February is good because then it's like the time of the year where there's the most time until there's more February. And and I love March. March is one of my favorite months. So it's almost in March. And so that's always good.
Well, I'm glad you had a good birthday, mate. Almost in March, your favorite month. It is March now, as we're recording. If you're a close listener to the show, you will know that we missed last week. And geez, what a couple of weeks we've had that we've missed, Paul. So much has happened in the world of football.
No shortage of topics to discuss this week.
So much has happened in the world of football.
Right. You've got Roman Abramovich has now put Chelsea up for sale. You had a manager sacking. You had an incredible cup final that went penalty shootout. You have a lot changing in terms of FIFA and UEFA and how they're handling Russia and how they're going to handle the national team. And there's for those of you who have been paying attention, there is something going on in the world right now that's a hell of a lot bigger than football. And it's something going on in Europe, so it's a hell of a lot bigger than European football.
Yeah, absolutely. Thoughts and hearts go out to the Ukrainian public, the country. Some of the stuff I've seen on the news that's happening over there, and some of the stuff I've read is truly horrific. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's going to slow down anytime soon. I was going to say to you, this is a tough segue, mate. I was going to ask you this off air. Do you want to go halves in Chelsea Football Club?
Oh, sure, man. I mean, $4 billion. That's just $2 billion for you and $2 billion for me. Let's do it.
Absolutely, man. I think I've got some money stashed under the couch. There you go. There's a scoop right there. You're listening to the new owners of Chelsea Football Club. Just kidding. Let's get away
We'll
from
make
this.
sure Pulisic starts every game and he starts at his natural position.
Let's move on to our winners and losers, mate. Now, reminders, folks, that this is going to probably cover the last couple of weeks. Some of this is still pertinent, but some of it might be slightly dated. But regardless, we're going to go through it anyway. My winner this week, Paul, is twofold. Because last week when we missed, Liverpool cut the gap to Manchester City. It's only 3 points. I think it's back to 6, but we've got a game in hand again. And then also they lifted their first piece of silverware for the year.
Right. First domestic cup trophy for Jurgen Klopp. You know, back when we were saying that the title race was over by Christmas or the title race was over by New Year's, I mean, everyone was saying that. It was all over the place. That did seem bizarre to me. That did seem weird because I was just like, there's so much numbers wise, so much can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I must say, I wasn't I wasn't thinking positively about it just because I know what Manchester City's like, and they're just a winning machine. They just churn out the victories over and over and over again. Then there was a bit of sign of life when I think it was Southampton they drew with a couple of weeks ago, and then the most bipolar football team on the planet, Tottenham Hotspur, managed to steal the victory over them, and I just couldn't believe what I was watching. And Liverpool are back in with a sniff. The title race is on, like you said. Did you see the cup final by any chance?
No, I didn't, but I know what happened to Kepa.
Yeah, incredible stuff there. Just outside of the penalty shootout, I just wanted to have on record that that has got to be one of the most entertaining nil-nil draws over 120 minutes that I've ever seen. There was no talk of passing percentage or who's got the most possession or any of that, those finicky stats that they use to make boring games seem more interesting. It was just two sides going toe to toe. And, if I wasn't biased, I'd say either side deserved to win. Both sides would have been unlucky to lose, but, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I won't say that. But it was just a fantastic game. It was really good. I think we saw the best and the worst of VAR in that game, and some incredible goalkeeping from Edouard Mendy of Chelsea during the 120 minutes, and Kelleher from Liverpool. I still don't know how to say his first name correctly. They both made some tremendous saves, and it was definitely a goalkeeper's game, coupled with some terrible goalkeeping from both Kelleher and Kepa during the shootout. Kepa was brought on as a penalty specialist and then proceeded to let in all 11 spot kicks. So take from that what you will.
Well, it's funny, there's been so much talk about getting rid of the Moose Cup or whatever you call it, the Carabao Capital One EFL League Carabao Cup.
Milk Cup.
But, the only country that has 2 domestic cup competitions.
But anyway, Paul, hit us with your winner for the week.
Slight Liverpool theme. That'd be Xherdan Shaqiri. Well, I heard it pronounced like Xherdan.
I think you nailed it. Xherdan. I think you nailed it.
Xherdan.
Yeah, I think for the first time in after extra time history, one of us has actually nailed a pronunciation.
Yeah, I mean, so that makes us like now 1 for 112, probably. Yeah, the Chicago Fire. They're my winner for signing Xherdan Shaqiri. Xherdan Shaqiri is a winner because he gets a nice paycheck. From what I've seen, he could make close to 7 million with add-ons. Incredible. He is still in his prime. He moved to a place where he will be the best player in the team automatically. He'll be top 5 players in Major League Soccer, so he'll be on the pitch every game. Mm-hmm. He will get the time that he needs because the World Cup is coming, and he has been bouncing around and on the bench. So, he worked with Chicago Fire sporting director George Heitz before at FC Basel. They both are Swiss. You have the Swiss connection. And I went to his I call these things product rollouts. I call them product launches because it's not really a news conference because there's no news.
Yeah.
It's something that everyone's known for days. And it was at the Blackstone Hotel, which is really nice. Swanky ballroom. Really swanky ballroom, really just great atmosphere. He came out and did a meet and greet and like not just the questions and answers, but also just shaking hands and stuff. And for my question at the press conference, I referenced Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool, of course. So win all around.
You might have the opportunity to go watch him every second week now, Paul. He plays for your local team,
right? And that should be enough to kind of get them back to the playoffs finally. I mean, the last time they made the playoffs, it was when they had just signed another European import, another midfield maestro, and Bastian Schweinsteiger. So there you go. There's 2 proper pronunciations.
I was just about to say a beautiful pronunciation of that one too, mate. Just a follow up to the Fire stuff. Like, where have they been? Like last season, and how do you see this signing kind of affecting their season? I know you said playoffs, but what are they just going to be making up the numbers? Do you think that they can maybe challenge for the playoff trophy? Or
it's weird. Everybody makes the playoffs in MLS pretty much. Like you have to be pretty bad to miss out.
Yeah,
and that's just how bad the Fire were. But they're so close though. Like they still aren't too far out, and they have I mean, before this, they didn't even have like. There's no reason to come to the park. There's like nobody's name to put on a
Mm-hmm.
shirt to sell, and he comes in and he changes all that. Now, does that mean they're going to be contenders for MLS Cup? I don't think so. I mean, this is right up there with Schweinsteiger and Cuauhtemoc Blanco as the biggest signings in club history.
You're just nailing the fucking pronunciations this week, mate. Incredible. Um, well, congratulations. You got
Sí, sí, es verdad.
you've got a
Conozco los nombres.
you've got a truly world class talent there at Chicago Fire and Shaqiri. It's interesting it didn't work out for him at Lyon or Liverpool really. And he still managed to turn it on for the Swiss at Euro 2020. So I think that's a great one. I see that our losers kind of match up with each other in a roundabout kind of way, Paul. Well, not in a roundabout kind of way, in a very direct way. My loser, it kind of covers the last couple of weeks. It's the Chelsea ownership and the Everton connection to Usmanov. The Russian connections there. We touched on Abramovich putting Chelsea up for sale, just liquidating his assets as quickly as he possibly could.
Yeah, obviously the biggest loser is the world itself because of what's happening with Ukraine. The fact that it's the biggest conflict in Europe since World War II. This is the first war in the social media age, in the live streaming every single thing that happens age. So we all see it, and it's for those of us who are not on the front lines, for those of us who aren't actually fighting, what can we do? What can we do to support Ukraine, which was, has been brutally assaulted by a vicious despot, an illegal invasion? Well, what we can do is take part in boycotts, and it's not just the boycotts, but Russia is the Champions League final was due to be in St. Petersburg. That's been moved. FIFA and UEFA are, they're punishing Russian teams. I'm still a little skeptical about FIFA because, it's hard to ever give them moral high ground on anything.
Yeah, I think they've got so many negative points on the board, regardless of what they do. I think it's a hard task to give them any kind of moral high ground, particularly when you think about their initial stance for penalties on Russia before they came out with the hardline stance. Their initial idea was take away the flag, take away the national anthem, take away the name, but they can still play. I thought that was pretty piss weak, personally.
Well, I agree. I agree completely. It's like that's gone on in the Olympics for some time when Russia plays under a different banner or a different team or different name. But I did want to say with Abramovich, this is just the chickens coming home to roost here. He gifted Putin a yacht. He's one of the richest men in Russia. He is the richest individual who also has Israeli citizenship. He's been persona non grata in the UK with the UK government for a few years already because of his connections to Russian leadership. I mean, he helped enable and empower Putin, and at least we're gonna say something positive though. At least he says he claims that when he sells the club, he's gonna donate the money to the victims of the war.
Yeah, I did read that. I do really hope that he sticks to that. I guess once he's got the money though, and he's not in the public eye anymore, that's going to be pretty hard to track. It just I don't want to dwell on the war too much, but it's such a big thing that obviously we need to talk about it.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to say about the war was the viral video, the viral moment of Snake Island, where the Russian warship was approaching, and he told the Ukrainian soldiers, "You have to surrender." And the one guy says to him, "Hey, should we tell them to go fuck himself?"
And then, yeah, like now I have heard a report that they claim that these men may still be alive somewhere. But what happened to them? But they did say that's the last time, their last transmission on the
Wow.
radio was, "Hey, Russian warship, go fuck yourself."
Oh wow, that's incredible.
And then you've got companies in Ukraine taking road signs and rearranging them and making them so the wrong way to confuse the invading Russian army. And then you have them taking Ukrainian road signs to say, "Go fuck yourself" or "lick my balls" or something,
Shit.
with an arrow pointing that way.
Hopefully there can be some kind of resolution by the time we record next week. But I'm not holding my breath, mate. But let's bring it back to football. Ladies and gentlemen, despite the incredible popularity of this segment, this is the last time we are doing it. We have something very exciting to replace it with starting next week. So for the final time, players, managers, boardrooms, after extra time fans, sports media journalists, newspapers gather around for the final ever after extra time weekly awards. Paul, let's do this thing, mate. Goal of the weekend. What have you got?
Luis Suarez versus Osasuna.
Oh wow! I'm gonna drop this goal in the description for the podcast. This is just vintage Luis Suarez from about 8,000 miles away. He's just swung his leg at it, and it's done some beautiful curve straight over the goalkeeper who's standing in no man's land, and just smashed it into the net. It was incredible to see. His career might be winding down, but Jesus Christ, what a hit that was.
Yeah, I mean, this is why people put up with him and the things he does. This is why he got himself out of, he became, no longer, well, in Liverpool, it was more about his behavior. In Barcelona, it was just more, he was aging, but he's just that much of a talent. And this is just such a beautiful, pretty thing to watch. Just so far range with so much accuracy.
100% agree. I've gone for the now I've written on the run sheet here Kelleher's penalty for Liverpool in the penalty shootout. I don't know, you might have seen this, Paul. This one's doing the rounds on social media a little bit. But Virgil van Dijk's penalty in the penalty shootout is the one I'm going to go for. Kepa is standing to the right of the goal because apparently that's where Van Dijk always shoots his penalty. And he even points there. He says, "Go on. I know that's where you kick it." Van Dijk just steps up and absolutely just belts it at his face as hard as he can. And Kepa doesn't even have time to react. All he would have had to have done is stick a hand up, but he couldn't. It was quite possibly the coolest penalty I've ever seen. Let's move on to player of the weekend, Paul.
Harry Kane, someone who's been a whipping boy on this show, on our website. Somebody who, has been called out for not producing and trying to figure it out. Well, he did it against Manchester City.
100%. Incredible performance. I'm guilty of putting the hammer down on old Harry Kane from time to time. Quite a bit, actually, this year. But it was tremendous to see the old Harry Kane back a little bit against Manchester City.
Yeah, and now we have a title race.
Yeah.
And that was, and what a special match that was, which you'll cover a bit in the next segment.
I've gone for the Liverpool goalkeeper, the Irish fella, Kelleher. Apologies, Irish people.
Kelleher. Yeah,
I don't know how to say that name. I know what those letters are, but I don't know how you pronounce them all together like that. So.
I'm not really good with Gaelic either myself.
Yeah. So we'll just leave it at that. Congratulations to both of those guys. This is a vintage one. Leave it in your wills for your grandkids and great grandkids. Your after extra time player of the weekend award. You can say you won it, the final ever one. We'll move on to match of the weekend, mate. So we've got a few going on here because there was a couple of game weeks like I touched on in the intro. I'll let you go first, Paul.
Yeah, obviously City Tottenham we talked about, that's definitely one, but I wanted to flashback to the Red Roses rivalry. Or no, I'm sorry, the Roses rivalry. There's the Red Rose and the White Rose because rivalries, derbies, and they're all fierce and they're all big and they're what we love about sports. They're why we love our team and we hate the other team. But to actually have a rivalry in which the teams represent areas that actually went to war and there was actual bloody conflict. The Roses rivalry represents the two counties or shires that were in the infamous War of the Roses, which was a battle to see who would ascend to the British throne in 15th century England. So, also the title of probably the darkest of all dark comedies ever. It was a 1980s. I'm definitely not gonna spoil it for anyone, but the fact that I was like a little kid when I saw it makes it seem even darker. But anyway,
Yeah, that is pretty incredible. I mean, you look at the Premier League now. I guess you look at England now. You couldn't imagine. Do yourself a favor, go have a look at a map of England, and it's kind of incredible to think that these two parts of the country were essentially at war with each other.
And we have that here in the United States too. We've got at least two. We've got Michigan and Ohio State playing the game, what's considered the greatest college football rivalry. They went to war over the Toledo Strip or the Toledo War, and it actually ended with something legitimately called the Frostbitten Convention.
Wow.
The Frostbite Convention. And then Kansas and Missouri, the University of Missouri and the University of Kansas. Leading Kansas was a reference to a series of skirmishes between abolitionists and pro-slavery people, because Kansas was about America's original sin and original stain, and trying to kept kicking the can down the road in terms of what to do about it until a civil war actually happened. And that's what Kansas and Missouri was about. Like, if you add this state, there would have to be a slave state to match a free state, and the two states border each other, so they do hate each other.
Wow, that's incredible. Unfortunately, I don't know about any wars amongst Australians. Well, I don't know if that's unfortunate at all. I might be very fortunate, but it's incredible to think that the way we look at the world, the way we look at maps, the way we understand things are not always the way that it was. And I think the War of the Roses, the Leeds Manchester United derby, is definitely one that highlights that.
All right, it is EPL match week 28, and both title contenders are in action. Liverpool FC will host West Ham United, whereas Manchester City will host local rivals Manchester United in the Manchester Derby. Stewie, you're going to be giving us your thoughts and predictions on all the matches. So let's just get started at the beginning. We'll get started at the beginning. We'll go on until we get to the end, and then we'll stop.
I think that's a good policy.
Saturday sees two struggling sides in Leicester and Leeds United kicking off at the King Power Stadium. You've got one side that just sacked their manager against another side which may sack their manager. What do you think is going to happen?
Listen, I think Jesse Marsh, American coach of Leeds United, I think he's going to give Leeds a bit of that new manager bounce we love to talk about, and probably put another nail in the coffin of Brendan Rodgers at Leicester.
Fair enough. Always support the Americans on this show. Next, we move on to Burnley hosting soon to be under new management, or soon to be under new ownership, Chelsea.
Yeah, okay. For this one, I mean, anyone who saw any FA Cup action, I don't know, it was wee hours in Australia in the morning, can see that sometimes this boardroom stuff has an effect on the players that are on the park. Chelsea almost, if it wasn't for Romelu Lukaku, almost was eliminated from the FA Cup by Luton Town. Burnley are in some terrific form at the moment. They've won their last couple of games. They're not rooted to the bottom of the table. They've got a stack of games in hand. With all this extra stuff floating around with Chelsea, I'm actually picking this one as a shock result. I'm going with Sean Dyche's men to pick up 3 points here.
Nice. Wow. Pretty
Yeah.
bold. You heard it here first. I think I might pick a draw when I write my Chelsea previews.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. We'll definitely revisit this one. I might have to eat some humble pie next week.
And next we move on. It's the second of 5 3:00 Saturday kickoffs, and it involves a team that you nailed the prediction on this one, albeit in a different competition.
Mm-hmm.
You said Southampton were going to knock West Ham out of the FA Cup, and they did. Now the Saints will head to Aston Villa to take on the second favorite team of every Liverpool supporter in Aston Villa.
Yeah, I did nail the Southampton prediction. And I really want Steven Gerrard to be successful at Aston Villa. But Southampton are one of the most informed teams in the league. I don't have the numbers in front of me exactly, but they've just been on a bit of a tear at the moment. Aston Villa are probably one of the most out of form teams in the league. I think Steven Gerrard's only won one, or under Steven Gerrard's stewardship, they've only won one of their last 9 games. I think Southampton are going to get some away points here, and Hassan Hoodle's going to get those boys charging towards an unlikely Conference League spot, perhaps.
That would be something for them. That would really be something to get European football of any sort. Next, we move on to Norwich City hosting Brentford in a matchup of two sides that are, no matter what happens to them, they're absolutely destined to be on the second page of the table.
Yeah, and right towards the bottom of the second page of the table too. We've spoken about our love for the Bees and the story of the tiny London club coming to the Premier League. Thomas Frank, you can add Christian Eriksen to that now. And Norwich, I said around Christmas I thought they weren't going to get relegated when they hired Dean Smith. I saw a little bit of them absolutely get played off the park by Liverpool, which is no surprise. But I think this one's going to be a draw, man. I don't hold much hope for either of these sides. I'm going to go for a scoreless draw that doesn't help either of them and potentially has them both mired in the relegation places come the end of game week 28.
Seems fair. Seems accurate. I could definitely see that happening. Next, we move on to more relegation fodder in Newcastle United. They'll be hosting Brighton, a team that was only promoted a couple of years ago, but is also in the mix for a potential Conference League spot.
Yeah, Newcastle, is it 6 on the bounce now? That's the new era has well and truly begun at St. James's Park. Brighton have been good, but they've dropped off just a little bit. I think this will be a closely contested one. I think home ground gives Newcastle probably just edge it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, Newcastle have definitely, money talks, and money may not be able to buy you happiness, but it can buy your way to staying in the first tier of English football.
Absolutely. And more. Watch this space.
Yes, exactly. Wolverhampton Wanderers. I am old enough to remember when they were a championship side because it wasn't that long ago. They are also in the mix for potential European football. If they really get it together, they're not for they could even challenge for top 4. Well, they are hosting Crystal Palace.
It wasn't that long ago that it was only, well, not last week, but a couple of weeks ago that I was saying that they were well and truly in that top 4 mix. I think recent results has kind of brought them back to the pack a little bit. Crystal Palace beat them first time around in the Premier League this year. I don't see that happening again. I think we're at the point now, Paul. Now, West Ham has been a big theme of the podcast. They're our very first football focus. We did our very first episode. and they've just had a notable season, and they look like the ones that were going to be the surprise side to crash the party. I think we're at a point now where it's probably more likely to be Wolves are going to be the one to crash the party up. I'm not trying to say that they're going to make Champions League. They've definitely got an outside chance, a real outside chance, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them ahead of some of the bigger names in the league when the season's all said and done.
Oh, I think that's definitely going to happen. At least that. They're definitely going to finish ahead of bigger name, bigger money clubs for sure.
So this is all to say I think Wolves will beat Palace at the Molineux.
And speaking of perfect transition with West Ham, they are part of one of our 2 football focus matches for this week as they travel to your beloved Liverpool.
So this is huge. Liverpool West Ham. My former housemate was a big West Ham fan. We got up in the wee hours of the morning, and at my behest, I made sure he got up too. I said, "Come on, mate, you got to watch. You know, we only play each other twice a year." In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, "Fuck, we're so good. We're gonna roll them. It's no big deal." And they fucking beat us 3-2. So, this is by no means guaranteed 3 points. Liverpool will have to be at their best. I think they might just get the job done, mate.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm rooting against West Ham now for the rest of the year after the Kurt Zuma thing. Next, we move on to the Moose Men, as we call them, Watford, the team that changes managers the way we change our socks and underwear. They will be hosting suddenly surging, but then not surging. Tough to figure out Arsenal, and this is the first of the Sunday matches.
So with Watford, I think if you look at how they play under Hodgson, they definitely are already a bit of a Hodgson side. Definitely defense first, but I don't think they're going to be able to batten down the hatches against Arsenal. I think the Gunners, like you said, they are on a bit of a run, and I think that they will probably take all 3 points and keep themselves right in the mix for an unlikely 4th place finish.
That would be quite the accomplishment, given the way the season started. And for some, I mean, Arteta was a guy who probably got a lot more rope than anyone else would have gotten, and it looked like it paid off that they did that. So,
you know, sometimes just sticking through with the coaches through the hard times can bear fruit in the long run. But in the Premier League, it seems to be all about the quick fix.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of a club that has changed managers a lot, United head to City for the Manchester Derby, the match that rapper Ice Cube has described as just like Bloods and Crips. You've got 2 sides.
Sorry.
I thought you'd like that analogy.
Sorry, go on, mate. Go on.
I
Continue.
thought you'd like that analogy.
Yeah.
Yes, you've got one-sided blue and one-sided red, and they hate each other, so it kind of is like Bloods versus Crips. All right, so instead of like South Central Los Angeles gangland references, let's you can give us the stats and facts that are relevant to this.
Okay, so Manchester City is looking to complete the league double over Manchester United for only the 2nd time in Pep Guardiola's reign. I found that fascinating that Pep's only done 1 league double over Manchester United. On the other hand, Manchester United is looking to win 4 consecutive away games in all comps against Man City for the first time since a run of 4 between November 93 and November 2000. As a Manchester United fan, were you aware that you'd beaten Manchester City at home the last 3 times that you'd played them?
You mean at their place?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was writing my book and I got to the City chapter, I was thinking about I was like, wait a minute, how come United always seems to win at City, even though City's been so much better lately? And I found I crunched some crazy numbers on this. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't say, but if you actually looked at how many points City finished ahead of United in the table for like a 4 or 5 year period, and you added it up, and then you looked at head-to-head meetings, the head-to-head meetings were dead even on goal differential.
Oh wow, that's incredible. Okay, well, that kind kind of changes my analysis a little bit. I was going to say Manchester City are kind of an unstoppable juggernaut and will probably roll over Manchester United, who have been, I think it's not too harsh to say flimsy at times this season. But given that context, I'm not sure if I actually think this would happen or I actually just really, 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 really badly want it to happen. But I'm going to change my pick from Manchester City to Manchester United to get the job done because, like the man said, they seem to always win away from home against City. So Manchester United for me.
All right, I love it. I may even go down to the pub to watch that. I haven't been to the United pub for a match since October, so maybe it's time.
I think it is time, mate.
And then, and speaking of it being time, it is now time to wrap the segment with one more game. If you are an American, you know what Monday Night Football means. You know the famous "All My Rowdy Friends Are Coming Over Tonight." The "Are You Ready for Some Football" song. And what we have is Tottenham hosting Everton for that. So how does Monday Night Football look to you?
Listen, man, this could be the basket case cup. I mentioned earlier on the podcast that Spurs are probably the most bipolar team in world football, beating Manchester City, top of the table, losing to Burnley, bottom of the table, running amok against Leeds and getting Bielsa sacked at Leeds, to losing to Championship Middlesbrough in the FA Cup. And then Everton, under Frank Lampard, have kind of flattered to deceive. All the talk was how much stronger their squad was after they signed Van der Beek and Dele Alli. And honestly, what I've seen of Everton, I have not been impressed. I copped a bit of flack a couple of weeks ago when I said this on the podcast, but I'm going to stand by it. Frank Lampard is in some real strife. Tottenham are going to win this because at the moment, Tottenham are going big win, loss. Big win, big win, terrible loss. Big win, terrible loss. So if you look at the patterns there, they're due for a big win, which they'll get at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Frank Lampard is going to be in some strife. Everton are going to find themselves in a relegation battle if they don't start, picking up points in their matches. And I just don't see it happening here against Spurs.
Spot on analysis. The Raffolution failed. Lampard has a bigger mess to clean up than he probably thought. And again, Antonio Conte, love him being so refreshingly honest about the mess that he has to clean up himself at his job.
Yeah, we didn't record last week, so we didn't get a chance to touch on it. But that outburst after the Burnley loss, that was something to behold.
Absolutely, that made headlines all over the world, and that would have been our moment of the week if we had a segment on that. So with that in mind, I think we can kind of close this one out.
Absolutely, mate. Well, as we usually do at this time of the podcast, Paul, why don't you let us know what you've got going on in the wide world of Paul this week?
Possibly one last ski trip before winter ends. Was never on skis my entire life until last winter, and that was really like weird kind of not true skiing, amateur kind of stuff. Didn't even have the training or the equipment. Now I've gone back-to-back weekends with, first there was a group lesson, which really didn't help until I actually got some one-on-one instruction, and then that changed a lot for me. And then on my birthday, I had a lovely private lesson, and the private lesson on my birthday really brought stuff up for me quite a bit. So let's see, maybe this will become a new sport for me, something I'll get into. I definitely noticed a lot of the ice skating skills or hockey skills from when I played as a kid. I did play hockey a little bit as a kid, so
okay.
Yeah, hopefully get shred the gnar and hit the slopes,
Maybe you can look out for Paul M. Banks at the next Winter Olympics, mate. The Alpine downhill.
I'm gonna dominate those moguls.
No, that sounds nice, mate. Fantastic. So that's it for another episode of After Extra Time. As usual, be sure to follow us at our Twitter account at AfterET_podcast. Be sure to get all your latest football news at thesportsbank.net. Show the third member of the pod some love by following the very quiet this episode at Otis Ginger Tabby on Instagram.
But he's been here the whole time, so he is totally. I think the gabapentin is working for his anxiety.
Until next week, he's Paul M. Banks. I'm Stuart Kavanagh, and this has been After Extra Time.